stressing the system, that's where exercise comes in. But you also stress the system when you don't eat. So people go, no, I can't take that stress because not eating, that's really hard. And for some people in the world, that's just life. You don't have any food and you're not eating. When you have food in front of you 24 hours a day, it's really hard to not eat because that's the natural thing to do, is to eat it. Stressing the system by not eating, I can't overemphasize how good that is and how important that is, because our biological systems are set up for stress. We can handle stress.
Getting us started here on Facebook. Of course, I forgot to fill in the important parts on my post. So talking and typing at the same time. I'm sure I misspelled something, but that's all right.
Quite talented.
That's quite a talent.
If you guys actually saw what I'm doing in the background sometimes, you would laugh. I think you would laugh. Trying to pull up images or comment on things. And then there's usually people who are comment and say, why aren't you reading my question? And I'm like, trust me, I'm not avoiding you. I just literally can't get to it. So funny. It's all good. We love it. I love doing these webinars. This is just really fun. And I love getting to hear from all of you. This is our Healthy Heart webinar. Many of you, this is our fairly new webinar that we created out of the desire from all of you who are watching. And we have done the fixed blood sugar webinar for several years now, but maybe you guys will know this. I was looking back from like 2014, and Joe had all these posts that said, we're going to do a webinar on that today. And I can't remember what webinars we would have been doing back then. That's 10 years ago. Any idea?
10 years ago he was posting
what type of webinars we would do. Yeah, I don't know either. I'm gonna have to look into that.
I don't know.
It wasn't this, but we must have been doing something. I'm not sure.
We did it. We did a webinar. Yeah, Joe and I were doing a webinar a long time. Yeah, like something like 10 years ago.
Really? And
yeah.
What was it over? Just health information?
Yeah. It was just all of the solution kits that were out.
Really?
Yeah.
Guys, I feel like I'm gonna go look for those files. Maybe put them up on YouTube. We'll see. Who wants to see a young Joe and young Dr. Saunders? That'll be fun. Probably same good information. So I have to go look for those. That's kind of exciting. How fun. All right, guys. So welcome again to the Healthy Heart webinar. If you're like, what is this that I'm even watching? I don't know what's happening. Many of you, it looks like, are probably new. I know some of you. What we do each week is we come together on this webinar. We talk about the different ways to keep our heart healthy. And sometimes we're talking about reversing those things that we may have been diagnosed with. Other times we're talking about preventative care, or we get really specific on maybe, what do I do after I've had a heart attack, or what, certain aspects of our heart. And then we open it up for your questions. And so the easiest way for us to manage those questions is if you post those in the Q&A. If you're on Zoom, we'll do our best to get to as many of those as possible. And then Facebook and YouTubers, you can comment as well, and we'll answer those as we're able to as well. So today we're going to talk about kind of the basics of keeping our heart healthy and what we should be doing. I feel like there is so much information out there. For example, on our diabetes webinar yesterday, I was just thinking through, if someone told my grandparents, okay, all you need to do is eat healthy. What does that mean these days? What does eat healthy mean? I don't even know. I have no idea what eating healthy really means for most people. And so comment, guys, comment in the chat. I just want to get an idea of what that means to you. Does that mean a certain diet? Oh, you got to eat paleo, you got to eat carnivore, you got to be, is it a diet? And then there's some people say, if it has a name, run away from it. You should not be doing it. There's so much information. So let us know in the chat what that means to you. What does healthy eating mean? And or I would say over the past year or so, at least from what I'm remembering, Dr. Saunders has been really digging into fiber and digging into just including more fiber in your diet and researching what the benefits of that are. And so I want to chat a little bit about that and how important is fiber in a diet when you're trying to prevent heart disease or maybe reverse heart disease. Break it all down for us, Dr. Saunders.
Okay. As far as the healthy diet goes, just to give you some ideas, there are new diet books coming out like daily, like every single day. There's another diet book, and it's really amazing how well they sell. Some people have collections of diet books, and I'm one of them. If a new diet book comes out that says this is a healthier diet than all the previous diet books ever written, then I read it and I want to know what is a healthier diet than all of the ones ever written. So as far as that goes, being healthy in a period of time when you can have anything you want. So in the past, there were diseases that were only diseases of kings. The royalty had certain diseases. One of them was diabetes type 2. Those were really, really rare diseases that were only seen in the wealthy people of the world. They had diabetes type 2. Nobody else had diabetes type 2. Why? Because it just wasn't enough food around that people would go without for periods of time. And there was one somebody from a church in Africa, and they said, and somebody went in and said, you guys are doing really well. How come you're doing so well? And the pastor was like, well, we help. We give to each other. So if someone has enough for 2 meals a day, then they can give to somebody who doesn't have enough for any meals a day. And so that everybody, and they're like, what? Only 2 meals a day? And they're like, yeah, well, if you could afford 2 meals a day, then you're rich here. So that was that, and that kind of thing. When you can't eat all day long, just graze all day long on anything you want, then that's a healthy diet, right? It's healthy to not eat in that kind of a case. People who are eating all day long, they get diabetes, heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's disease. All of the diseases of aging are all happening by people who are eating all day long and grazing and get to eat anything they want and have their big Ben and Jerry's ice cream before after dinner, before bed. They're sitting there. I had someone who did that every night in front of the TV. He would have 1 pint of Ben and Jerry's, and that was just his. So when he got diabetes, he said, "No, I'm not giving up my ice cream," and he ended up giving up his ice cream. I told him the options. So
well, and let's read. I want to read through this. So you're kind of talking about this, but I want to tell you what some of the people have said have been what they think healthy diets are, because it's very interesting. Also, I'm just going to mention Dr. Saunders is not your doctor, so please consult with your medical professional before you implement anything that we talk about today. See, I'm good at getting at that.
You're getting
very
good.
Very fast. Yep.
Right. This is so interesting. Okay, Christine says protein first, good fats, healthy starches, real food. Avoid sugar and avoid all processed.
Linda, I agree. Thumbs up. That was
Linda
good.
Says healthy eating means to me more veggies and fiber and reducing the sugar.
Yeah, thumbs up for that one too.
Lisa, lower fat, refined carbs, include vegetables and fruits and fiber, nuts, legumes.
Yeah, thumbs up for that one.
Larry says a healthy diet has low carbs, high in fiber.
Low carbs, high in fiber. Yeah, that's good too.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Now let's keep on going.
So part of that is what you're avoiding, like you're not eating certain things, and then you are eating certain things, and that's how it becomes healthy. So the ones that said just don't eat anything that's processed or prepared foods or anything like that, that's a good idea. So things like sugar, These are processed sugars. They make things sweet. They make things taste good. Um, and I was the other day, my daughter had some ice cream, and so my son had a taste of her ice cream. It was coconut. And he goes, "Wow, that's really good." And I said, "You know, you can make anything taste good. You can make poop taste good if you put enough sugar in it." Uh,
Too far, too far.
sorry. I didn't want to give you that.
Wait a minute. Wait. That's
So the point is that the processed foods, yes, they are a problem. But you know, the main problem is not that. Someone was talking to me this morning. Well, and she has oatmeal in the morning, and then she puts butter and maple syrup, and then some nuts. And some fruit in it, and I said, you know, that's pretty good. And how would it taste without the maple syrup? She goes, I wouldn't like it. I'm like, okay. She doesn't have type 2. She doesn't have problems with diabetes or insulin resistance or anything, so it's probably not an issue for her. So here's the key: you can pretty much eat anything you want as long as you have some time off. So if you give yourself time off, like we talked about the hummingbirds, you know, they get diabetes and fatty liver disease and obesity and like diabetes, insulin resistance every night because they're just sucking sugar all day long. And then they have that period of time all night when they're fasting, and they use up all that fat and stuff that they stored. So whatever you eat, you can detox if you have an empty stomach for any period of time. So whether that looks like, you know, daily fasting of the 16 hours or a weekly fast. I had someone this morning. She said she fasts 1 day a week. Monday's her fast day. She doesn't eat on Monday, so she eats Sunday evening meal, and then she doesn't eat again till the Tuesday morning meal. And that's been really good. Her hemoglobin A1C went from 5.7, which is pre-diabetes, to 5.4, which is in the optimum range. So that kind of thing works really well. But having an empty stomach is really the best diet to think about, rather than have to count calories and do this and do that. And but all of the other things everybody mentioned, yeah, get a lot of fiber, eat healthy fats, you know, avoid all the processed fats and processed sugars. That's really a good idea too.
Awesome. Corinne says, I have to eat a diet that is DNA based, no inflammatories that are based on my own DNA, so that my mito disease is kept from progressing. Very interesting. Okay. Let me see here. Let's talk a little bit more about, okay, so we've talked about food. What other things do you feel like really play a significant role on maybe the decline of our heart health?
Can I jump in and ask
yeah.
a question first? Because she asked, so Corinne said she has to take care of her mito disease. So that's a mitochondrial problem. So can you explain how important the mitochondria are for heart functioning?
Oh my gosh, this is so important. Thank you, Cheryl. That's like your every cell in your body has mitochondria. Some of them only have one mitochondrion that's a little bacteria in the cell making energy for that cell. So some have one, some have 2 or 3. Heart cells have thousands. Like 40% of the cell is filled up with mitochondria, just pumping out energy like crazy. That's called ATP. So that the heart muscle could keep going and going and going and going and not stopping ever. Because if it ever stopped, what would happen? You would die. So it just has to keep going and going. That mitochondria in there, what happens when you get fewer and fewer? What if you, instead of 40%, what if you only had 20% of the cell? Well, then you have less energy. So the heart beats, and then it takes longer to relax. And so then you start getting what are called arrhythmias of the heart, where you've heard of atrial fibrillation, or bundle branch blocks, or fibrillation, and then there's atrial tachycardia. Anyway, there's these arrhythmia syndromes where the rhythm isn't like regular, it's not beating regularly. There's reasons for that, and it's usually starting with mitochondria. So yeah, her mitochondria diet, that is really important. I think that's a really good idea.
So then how do you increase your mitochondria or make sure they're functioning well?
Okay, that's a good question. Getting sufficient nutrition is important. Exercise is important. You don't build mitochondria unless there's a need, and you create a need by exercising. And so that's why in a biological system, things are seem contradictory. Like if you think that, boy, by using more energy, I get more energy. That doesn't make sense. That's like by running my car longer, I'm going to have more energy in my car. No, you're going to run out of gas is what's going to happen. And you're going to put an end. Now I can't go anywhere because I ran out of gas. Biological systems are different. Biological systems adjust to the need. So as you like exercise and you're running and you're doing things, then the mitochondria go, oh, there's more need. I better make some more. And so you start going, making more mitochondria so you have more energy available. So that's why it's a biological system is different than a mechanical system. Yeah, exercise is really important. And then having adequate nutrition. There are certain nutrients that are deficient in most Americans. Potassium, magnesium, L-carnitine, coenzyme Q10, and then ribose. And ribose just because people don't eat a lot of vegetables. Some people consider vegetable like that little bit of lettuce that they put on the side of your plate, and people go, oh, yeah, I ate that salad. And that's not, like you're not going to get a lot of ribose. So you're not going to get a lot of fiber from that. So people are eating large amounts of fiber by eating salads and vegetables and cooked vegetables and broccoli and cauliflower and spinach and all that stuff. They have a lot more ribose around. But people who don't, I've had people tell me, I had a vegetarian tell me one time, I hate vegetables. I'm like, wait a minute, you're vegetarian. You can't hate vegetables. He goes, yeah. I said, what do you live on? Pasta, rice, corn, bread, cereal. And I'm like, that's not a good diet.
Carbitarian? Is there such a word?
I guess.
Yeah, I think I'd be really tired if I was a carbitarian.
You started answering, you asked a question, I jumped in. Do you remember what that question was?
Just what are the other, so you mentioned exercise, you mentioned, some common deficiencies, those types of things, or things that we could look to put into our diet to help. What are some other things that you find help with preventing heart disease?
Stressing the system, that's where exercise comes in. But you also stress the system when you don't eat. So people go, no, I can't take that stress because not eating, that's really hard. And for some people in the world, that's just life. If you don't have any food, then you're not eating. When you have food in front of you 24 hours a day, it's really hard to not eat because that's the natural thing to do is to eat it. Stressing the system by not eating, I can't overemphasize how good that is and how important that is, because our biological systems are set up for stress. We can handle stress, but then repair. And if we don't stress, we don't build. And then if we don't repair, we're just breaking down and not getting better. So having those two systems working together where you're running and you're doing stuff, and then you have another system where you're fasting and resting, and having those two that's where you get all the benefits for your heart. I had an interesting case recently, yesterday or the day before. Somebody came in, and she's 90 years old, and she has something to do. She has her work, and she's focused on her work, and she's working. She's not retired. She's not sitting around watching TV. She is working. She's writing books, and she has work to do. And so I asked her about her diet, and she's got an okay diet. She doesn't eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, but she does avoid processed foods, and well, not all food. She eats pasta and white rice and stuff like that. But she has a focus in life. She said that's what keeps her going. And so no matter what else you're doing, having a focus in life is really an important thing for your heart. That's what keeps your heart going. If you're working towards fulfilling and have a fulfilling life, that helps your heart be healthy. Whereas if you have a broken heart, if you're not, if you have depression, because life seems hopeless, then that's a broken heart, and that actually leads to heart disease. We don't stress that enough. And that's part of if you've read the Healthy Heart Solution Kit, it talks a lot about that, about how important it is to manage stress, to have a focus, and to can have something to do in life that you enjoy and work towards. Mute.
This is the Healthy Heart Solution Kit for those of you who are new. We talk about this on every webinar, but you can find this at bartonwebinar.com. I know someone was asking for links, and I think maybe you responded, Cheryl, but they can go to support@bartonpublishing.com if you have questions. Maybe you've already purchased it and you want to get the links, you couldn't find them, or what, I'm not sure what it was, but really good information in this. And this is Dr. Saunders and our Barton team have put this together. Information, there's recipes, there's information about stress reduction, exercise, food, all of those things. And so really, really good. I almost want to say a support manual, but really it is, it's more than that. There's so much good information in this that I just think you'll really, really appreciate. And a lot of people have already started using this and implemented all of the things in it and have had great success. If you're one of those people, we'd love to hear from you. Post about it in the chat. Let us know how this has worked for you. I'm going to ask this question. Guys, if you can put your questions in the Q&A, it'll be a little bit easier for me to navigate those, but I'll kind of do my best to go through some of them. Corin had said, what can I take to control IST, inappropriate sinus tachycardia, if I cannot take beta blockers because I have the mitochondrial disease and asthma?
Okay. So the reason for the inappropriate sinus tachycardia, and that means your heart just randomly starts beating too fast. And because it like takes off, it's not being controlled properly. And part of that is the mitochondrial deficit. So the mitochondrial disease is part of the problem. So the way to handle that is to build mitochondria and to have more energy in the heart, not less. So when, and I've had doctors say this to my patients, oh, you need to rest. Well, no, if you rest, here's what happens. Your heart gets weaker and weaker, and it gets worse and worse over time. And so it's not helpful. In fact, there is nothing that rest is good for. Everything does better if you're exercising and you're active. And so the 4 nutrients to increase mitochondria are L-carnitine, CoQ10, magnesium, and then D-ribose. And those are 4 nutrients that the research was done by Dr. Stephen Sinatra in New York. And it is, those have been found that are common deficiencies in people that get mitochondrial problems. And so building that, you could add something called PQQ, pyrroline, quinoline, quinone. It is a supplement, and you can buy it at wherever supplement stores. And it is something that actually induces mitochondria to be produced. It induces the replication of mitochondria. But don't forget, just popping a pill is not going to fix everything. Exercise is still the most important part of building your mitochondria.
Okay, question here from Douglas. I know that multiple day fasting is best for reversing clogged arteries. However, I do not need to lose weight, and I want to know if daily 14-hour intermittent fasting will provide any benefit to reduce the buildup, or is longer fasting required for any benefit?
I don't know the answer to that, if it's required. Well, 14 hours is okay. 16 hours is actually even better. Of daily fasting is useful. You know, some of you may have read this recently. There was a lot of press put out on how intermittent fasting causes heart disease. You got to understand that when research is done, somebody's paying for that research. When you see something on TV, somebody's paying to put that on TV. When you see something in the news or an advertisement, the news is just advertising. It's they're marketing things. So whenever you see that, you ask the question, is that real? Is that something that's real? So this study that was done, they took an old study that's been around for a long time called the NHANES study, and they picked some people out that had heart disease, and they looked at what they ate, and they said, oh, if we take this with a cohort of people that don't have heart disease, the ones that had intermittent fasting that ate less had 91% increased risk of heart disease. And so they've been advertising that. I've found a lot of press on this, and so I looked into it. I looked into depth of where did they get the study, where did they get the information, and so it turns out that this study was somebody remembering what they ate for 2 days. This is 2 days of remembering what they ate. Now, what did you have for dinner last night? Most people don't know, and most people don't remember what they ate yesterday. And a lot of studies have shown that people are really, really bad at determining what they ate yesterday and the day before. So think about yesterday and the day before. You're doing a questionnaire, and then you say, well, I ate like 2 meals yesterday, and then so they put 2 meals, and then you get heart disease down the road, and they say, aha, look, eating 2 meals a day causes heart disease. And that's essentially what they did with this study. From somebody remembering. It's a terrible study. It is completely wrong. It's completely off, and all the press for it is just advertising. It's drug companies trying to tell you, don't get healthy, stay on your drugs. That's what that's all about. So that because they paid for the study, the drug companies paid for the study. So that's why they're doing it. So just so that you know, when you see that, you'll go, oh, Dr. Saunders talked about that. That's actually a fake study. Just so that you know. What was the question now? Did I miss something?
No, that was such information. But that is what he asked. He wanted to know about intermittent fasting.
Yeah, intermittent fasting is so good for. Okay, so do you have to fast long term? No, you don't have to fast long term. Pretty much. The daily 16-hour fast is actually probably as good intermittent long-term fasting or periodic long-term fasting, like 3 days. But it seems like 3 days is kind of an optimum place to be.
Jim said, I would like to hear what Dr. Saunders thinks about how significant a diagnosis of atrial hegemony is. Does this usually become atrial fibrillation?
That's possible. So bigeminy is when the atrium, when the node, it's called the sinus node, the node will skip beats, and it's a regular, it happens regularly. And so that's the beginning of an arrhythmia. That's one type of arrhythmia. And cardiologists like to separate them all out and go, well, this one's a bigeminy, and this one's an atrial fibrillation, and this one's atrial tachycardia, and this one is bundle branch block, and so there's a lot of different things, but it's all the same process. It's just a different manifestation of the same process. So yes, the bigeminy is a lack of energy. So what you need what you need is to increase the number of mitochondria, and you do that by exercising and taking the supplements we talked about.
All right. Gerald says, do we need to increase our adrenosterone? Adrenosterone. There you go. If so, how?
Stenolone. What is that? I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know what that is.
All right. So
androstenedione. Is that what it is? Androstenedione. That's a testosterone.
Androstenolone.
Androstenedione. I don't know. I don't know what that is.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Christine says, I've heard different schools of thought on oatmeal. So as a compromise, I switched to steel cut oats. I make a batch, then put some in a bowl, reheat, and add a soft cooked egg at the side of the same bowl, plus blueberries. Any thoughts?
I think that's great. What a great meal. So you're getting enough protein in that meal. You're getting carbs. You're getting a lot of fiber. I think that's fine. I don't have any issues with that at all.
All right. I'm going to do this email that came from Elsa. Thanks for all the information to help our bodies heal as God intended. I received the Healthy Heart and supplements about 2 weeks ago. I've implemented the 6-10-8 intermittent fasting, walking 4 to 5 times a week, as well as 2 24-hour fasting sessions. I'm planning a 72-hour fast once a month.
Yeah, that's good. That's what I do.
A cath test in January of this year revealed 3 clogged arteries, and the medical solution is triple bypass surgery. My parents and siblings had a combination of bypass and stents. I'm 58 and fairly skinny. Lots of stress for many years, and I'm intentionally working on decreasing stress. My question with this plan and healthy eating as suggested, which is mostly what I was eating already, can I expect to clear my arteries, and how soon? I don't really have any symptoms except that I can feel my heart beating, which can also just be because I'm aware of it, causing a bit of anxiety. Being skinny, I thought going on an extended period of fasting may not be a good idea. I appreciate your help.
Okay, that's a good question. So, being thin. Okay, so what that means is that you're forming clots. And the question is, why are you forming clots? Because there's genetic reasons. It's not all dietary. It's not all lifestyle. Some people, like you said, your father, your brothers, siblings, there's something there in your genetics likely that is allowing more clots in your arteries or preventing the clots from being reabsorbed like normal. So, and that could be like lipoprotein A would be one of those issues. Inflammatory markers, if there's inflammation, autoimmune diseases of various kinds. So look at why, and that's part of what we put in the kit is the tests, the series of tests to look at Where is this coming from? And then when you find it, then you know what to deal with. Otherwise, you don't know what you're doing. If you think, gosh, the diet's the same diet I had already, and I got 3 clogged arteries on this really good diet that I eat. So maybe diet's not the issue. Maybe there's something else going on. And so that's what your next step is not to just hope that these kinds of things are going to help you, because if they're not your issue, they're not going to help you. Yeah, you need to find the problem and deal with the problem.
Okay, so this is from Zoom user. I don't think that's their name, but it says Zoom user.
I think that's their name.
Probably.
When I grow up, I'm going to rename myself Zoom user.
This is their first webinar. So welcome to the webinar. We're excited that you're asking a question. This is great. That's why we're here. Well, not me, Dr. Saunders. I have recently had recent diagnosis of angina, going to the ER, off any BP meds for high blood pressure, because if SE for 2 years. BP is, I'm having a hard time reading this. BP is WNL.
Within normal limits.
Okay. But still have bouts with angina, and that has greatly curtailed regular activity that I know I would fail a stress test. Have a stress test and echogram, maybe echocardiogram, next month to determine the percentage of blockage. I just started healthy heart supplements this week. Can I clean my arteries to avoid stents?
Okay, so that comes to the same kind of issue. Have the test done, get the echocardiogram, and get the stress test, and have this stuff done so that you can determine what's going on. Sometimes it's blockages in the arteries where you have limitation of blood flow, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes that angina is happening because of constriction of the blood vessels. And that happens for other reasons. That's an autonomic nervous system dysfunction that's controlled by your brain in the limbic system, which could be an emotional issue. There's a whole lot of things that could be causing this. So finding the underlying cause is the first thing. And so one of the things in the book, when you get the book, is what tests to do. And the tests look at biochemical reasons, but they also look at other reasons, like things like stress or autonomic nervous system dysfunction. So if you have constricted arteries and it's just constricted, if you ever seen your hands, like you go out and play in the snow, you're throwing snowballs and your hands are they just turn white. Why? Well, the blood, the color in your hands is the blood. You're actually seeing blood through the skin. So you're seeing the blood in the blood vessels through your skin. And when those blood vessels constrict and there's no blood flowing through there, your hands turn white. And you can even see it if you push on it. You're pushing all the blood out of it, and then they have a white spot there. And that means there's no blood in the skin. Well, you know what? That happens in the heart too. It's not just in your hands. When you get a migraine headache, that's happening in your brain. When you get intestinal migraines or abdominal migraines, that's happening in your intestines. When you get back pain or other pains in your body, often you're getting constriction of blood vessels in other areas of the body. So this isn't just like, it's just the heart. No, it happens everywhere to different people in different places. So consider that it might be a constriction of blood vessels from the autonomic nervous system. But look at all the other tests too and say, what's going on here? You need to know why so that you know what to do.
All right. I'm taking my own little notes over here. Are you guys taking notes? I hope so. There's so much good information that's coming out. If you guys would like to join us on camera, let me know. In fact, hit that raise hand button if you're on Zoom, and I will add you as a panelist, and then you can enable your camera. Actually, I might have to enable it, but either way, we'll get it figured out. But we'd love to see some of you, and just please make sure that you are appropriately dressed. And Dr. Saunders, you're already on camera, so
darn.
Also, please don't share your screen. I'll have to kick you off. Okay, here we go. We did only have that happen one time. So, oh, by the way, the Zoom user was Linda from Illinois. So thank you, Linda. I appreciate that. And welcome to the show. All right, D says, what is the best way to handle naturally dangerously high and low blood pressure? I'm trying to reduce stress because of the swings that occur. I can't take high blood pressure medicine.
I've seen that problem. So blood pressure goes way up, 200 over 110, and then it goes way down, 100 over 60 or 90 over 60. And you can't take blood pressure medication for the high ones because it'll drop too low. And if you drop below 90 over 60, man, you're going to get hypotension, you're going to get dizziness, and you're going to have poor blood flow to your body. So that kind of a thing is a hard thing to deal with. So what you're dealing with is an autonomic nervous system dysfunction. This is what we're talking about for like angina can be caused by that. But also swings in blood pressure. When you're seeing swings that high, going way up high and then way down low, and that really wide range, that indicates that your autonomic nervous system is not controlling the blood pressure very well, that it's not stable. So I think the important thing to do there is to assess your autonomic nervous system and work on that. And there are a lot of things. There's a lot of books out now. There's a lot of ways of dealing with that. There's the Wim Hof method we talked about once, and Wim Hof teaches you breathing techniques and then cold plunges. And it's not just being cold. It's not just getting in cold water or taking a cold shower. It's when you're cold, you're standing there going, "It's okay. It's okay." And that allows the parasympathetic nervous system to take over and balance things better. So it control of the parasympathetic nervous system. That's the relaxation response. That's the ability to bring things down to normal. So when you have these wide swings in blood pressure, that's autonomic nervous system. Fix that first.
Okay. I'm going to read another email here from Gerald. I've been looking for an alternative to surgery for a left branch bundle block. I have had 2 echocardiograms since October to present. October of 23 to present. And the cardiologist said that I have a reduced heart function from 35 to 30, and he would like to pursue CRT therapy, which is a surgery with a pacemaker and a defibrillator. I have been lap swimming 3 to 4 times a week and eating a healthy diet since last October, and I have had not much positive results. My weight is 210 pounds on a 5'10" frame. I do not want surgery, and I'm interested in your opinion or suggestions for supplement alternative therapy. And then Gerald's prescriptions are metoprolol, valsartan or Entresto, Jardiance, spironolactone.
Good.
Yes, that's
it. Okay. All right. So this is a difficult problem. So if you relax the heart, if you say don't stress anything, then you're going to get weaker and weaker. The heart's going to get weaker and weaker, and that's pretty much what you've experienced. So you're lap swimming. I mean, this is like if you're doing laps and your heart's not getting better and your diet's really good. Consider that the medications that relax your heart, like for example, metoprolol, rather than help the heart pump better, or it actually stops the heart from pumping hard. So you have decreased function of the heart. It does stop the heart from beating fast though. And so the bundle branch block is an indication of a lack of energy. The decreased ejection fraction, it's called, the amount that is beating out of the heart is 60%, and that's okay. Was it 60? Was it or is it 35 to 30?
35 to 30.
Oh yeah, 35 to 30. That's really low. That's not a good functioning heart. And so when it dropped down like that, that's an indication that instead of 35% of the blood coming out of the heart, only 30% of the blood is coming out of the heart. That means that it's less. With each beat, you're getting less blood to your body. So your heart has to beat more to get there. And there's less energy available for it to do that. So what you need is to increase the energy of the heart. So the exercise, the swimming is good. I would gradually increase that, and then consider talking to your doctor about not using those medications, and instead increase your exercise, and then take those same nutrients to build mitochondria. So making sure you get enough magnesium, coenzyme Q10, L-carnitine, and D-ribose. And then you have another issue, and that is you may have some insulin resistance because you're overweight. So being overweight is not a guarantee, but that could be part of the problem, because insulin resistance blocks you from using fat for energy, and the heart needs 60% of its energy has to come from fat and 40% from glucose. And so if you diminish the amount that's available from fat, then you diminish the amount of energy you have in your heart. So fasting periodically would be really good, and avoiding carbohydrates, not eating any carbohydrates, and fasting, do like intermittent fasting, 16 hours a day would be good, but really like a 3-day fast, 72 hours is what gets that switched over much better, because during those 72 hours, you quit making insulin and you gradually become more insulin resistant. Now, this is a gradual thing. It's not something that happens overnight. So give it some time, and you may need to do like a 3-day fast once a month for a year, to start your fat burning metabolism so that you can get your heart beating again.
Okay, I think we have, I've seen a couple questions about this, and actually I think Corinne asked maybe which magnesium should we be using?
Oh, that's a good question. And it comes up all the time, and the people that are advertising their particular brand of magnesium, they're like, well, ours is better than theirs, and no, ours is better than theirs, and that there's all this magnesium fights going on. Okay, here's the reality. Your body absorbs and uses magnesium pretty well. You don't not absorb magnesium. Well, some people don't, but most people absorb magnesium very well. And when it's chelated, so some of the magnesium glycinate, for example, those are chelated forms, and your body likes glycine, so it pulls it in, and then you get the magnesium with it. So it's automatic. You don't have to rely on the magnesium receptors in the intestines to absorb it, because those are a little fickle. So they say, yeah, ours is better. But here's the reality. If you're getting enough magnesium in your diet, and you have enough vitamin D, and you're not getting too many oxalates, then you're going to get magnesium. So so you take 150 milligrams of magnesium glycinate is equal to about 400 milligrams of magnesium oxide, right? Take 400 milligrams of magnesium oxide, and you have the equivalent. So it is better absorbed. So you can take more of the other if you want. It's not a big deal. Just get magnesium.
All right. A couple different questions about this. Is there a way to diagnose blocked arteries, or to know if your arteries are blocked without surgical methods? And then there's another part to that question. I'll let you do that one first.
Okay, so a good way to handle that is to do a coronary calcium score. The coronary calcium score is not, it gives you a score, it gives you a number, but think of it more as an idea. It's not a blockage of your arteries, but it tells you how much clotting you have in your arteries that have calcified. And so it's looking for calcium deposits, and that is an indication of atherosclerosis or disease in the arteries. So that's a good way. Coronary calcium score.
Second part of the question here from Lisa. Also, to reverse plaque naturally, would lemon juice be effective?
Probably not by itself. The only things that have been shown to reverse plaque naturally is a very high carbohydrate, low fat diet. And this has been tried in multiple studies have shown that you can actually reverse the heart disease by eating a essentially vegan diet, but not just vegan, a very low fat diet, like you can't even have an avocado, which is would be okay on a vegan diet. So very low fat diet that has been shown to help as long as you're eating natural foods, whole foods, then getting a lot of fiber. That seems to work. The other thing that's very important that should be corrected that makes a big difference is the omega-3 or omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. Most Americans are around 10 to 1, which means you have 10 times more omega-6 than omega-3, and that causes inflammation. If you bring that into more like 2 to 1, that's an optimum place to be, and that can help reverse the plaques as well.
Okay, Flores had mentioned hawthorn for coronary artery blockage. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, hawthorn is something that dilates blood vessels. It's an herb, and it's often used for blood pressure. I don't know of any studies that show that it reverses the plaque in the arteries, though, so I can't speak to that.
All right. Okay. Let's see, Corinne, another question. Is there anything that can be done to reverse small branch disease?
Okay, that's a different question, and that's really important. Okay, small branch means it's not the left anterior descending, the big arteries that you see when you're doing like the coronary calcium score and all that. That's all looking at the big arteries. What about the small arteries, the little ones that they're going through? What about the disease of that? Well, that's really important because like when you do an MRI scan of your brain and you see little white matter infarcts, and they say, oh, this is small vessel disease. And then that means you have small vessel disease. And what that means is that your blood's flowing through the big arteries just fine. But when it gets to the small arteries, it's very hard. Yesterday, we used the example of you're trying to suck a triple thick strawberry shake through a coffee stirrer. I don't know if you ever tried that. It's like, getting, you could get some up there, but it's kind of sluggish and slow. Well, that's what happens in your small vessel disease is you have these tiny vessels and blood is thick. And so getting the blood through there, why doesn't it flow through there? Well, it's because you're missing something called the glycocalyx. And that's the lining inside made by your by the endothelium, the lining of the arteries. The cells that line the inside of the arteries make this glycocalyx. It's a really thin layer. It's like gel, and it allows everything to flow through. When you don't have it, it doesn't flow, and you get small vessel disease, and it's very common. And it's mostly common because in our society, we don't have a lot of fruits and vegetables. We don't get a lot of the fiber that we need. Fiber, including some of the carbohydrates, some of the sugars that we need to make that glycocalyx that end in OSE, like mannose and fructose. These sugars that we don't really digest, we don't use them for energy. So it goes, oh, they're not important. Well, it turns out they're really important for making the lining of your arteries so you don't get small vessel disease. So increasing your fiber would be a good way of doing that. And it's things that you may not like, things that you might like melon. Melon, it turns out, has a lot of the carbohydrates or the sugars that are needed for the glycocalyx. Mushrooms are unique for having fructose. You can only get it from mushrooms and seaweed. There really isn't a significant amount in any other food. So having a variety of foods and getting a variety of different kinds of fiber will help make that, which may be one of the reasons why you can reverse heart disease with a very high fiber, low fat diet.
Okay. Kind of go back to the question that you had before this. I know that Corinne had asked, what's the best way to balance the omega-6 and omega-3 ratio? How do you get a grip on that?
Okay. So first of all, you have to know what it is. So test. There's a test called cardio omega. It's Omega Check. Omega Check. They changed the name of it. So the Omega Check test, and it'll tell you what your 3 to 6 ratio. It'll also tell you all the other, how many omega-3s and all that other stuff, omega-6, all the different types. And that's okay too. But really focus on that ratio of omega-6 to omega-3. Omega-6 causes inflammation. Omega-3 suppresses inflammation. And if you have a lot of omega-6, you're going to have a lot of inflammation unless you have enough omega-3 to balance that so that you can suppress that and keep that in line. If you have a lot of inflammation, what's going to happen? You're going to get clots in your arteries. The clots are not going to dissolve very well, and they're going to calcify and get calcium deposits on them, and you're going to end up with atherosclerosis of your arteries. And that's just for an omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. So if you look at societies, studies done in whole societies, like if you look at the older people in Japan that live on fish that have essentially 1-to-1 omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, they are paired. They have the same amount of omega-6 as omega-3, and their heart disease is 1/10 that of the United States. So we have 10 times more disease, but we have 10 times more omega-6 oils too. So, we have, the average American is 10-to-1, 10 times more omega-6 than omega-3. And so that's a big deal right there. So how do you do it? That's a great question. So you have only a few oils that are high in omega-3. There's very few. Almost all of them are omega-6 oils. In fact, every single oil that you ever buy, that's in any meat or cheese or anything, any oil that you ever see has omega-6 in it. But only a few of them have omega-3. So chia seeds, flax seeds. Now, a tablespoon of flax seeds is about 2 grams of omega-3 oil. So that's good. And it's better to take the seeds rather than the oils because, flaxseed oil is, the oil paints. Oil paints, they don't dry; they actually oxidize, and that's the same. That's flaxseed oil. Linseed oil is the other name for it. It's been used for years for preserving wood and all kinds of things. Linseed oil, because it oxidizes and dries, but it's not. It doesn't have volatile organic compounds and doesn't. Anyway, so that oil is it goes rancid pretty quickly, and then so it's not good for the body to have that rancid oil. So eat the seeds, and then you can avoid the rancid oil, and you're going to get high omega-3. So chia seeds, flax seeds, and then fish. So fish is the other source, and if you take a fish oil, that's great. In fact, I would recommend taking an omega-3 fish oil and eating fish once or twice a week. I think that's a good way to do it.
All right.
I was just going to say, and Barton does have an omega supplement. You can check it out at bartonwebinar.com. It'll link to our omega supplement.
Yes.
Check out webinar 25 for 25% off, right, Leslie?
Yes, I'll post that here too. I was going to say we've kept Dr. Saunders way too long, but at the same time, Corinne is on camera. So I'm going to ask you one more question, Dr. Saunders. because she had asked, what do you think about the super greens powders? Are they useful? Any thoughts about those?
Yeah, they're somewhat useful. You're not getting the benefits that you are if you eat the greens. So you're better off eating the greens. I don't know, make a smoothie, have chard and collard greens and mustard greens and kale and spinach, and just have them on a regular basis. And that's a better way to go. The powders they're okay, and you do get a lot of the nutrients from. But remember that when they take all the water out, all of the volatile compounds, like the sulfur compounds, a lot of that is lost. So there are volatile nutrients that we need that are in the water of the plant. So yeah, the greens are 90% water. And then they go, oh, that's just water. No, it's not just water. It's actually nutrients in that water. So when you take the water out, then you have less nutrients. But all the other stuff, all the vitamins and minerals, they're pretty much still there. So yeah, the greens do have some value.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Saunders. We'll see you next week.
All right.
And thank you all for being here. This was a great webinar. I did post that bartonwebinar.com. I did post that link, and then use code webinar25 to save 25%. You guys can get any of the supplements or the Healthy Heart Solution Kit using that code. You'll get 25% off, which is awesome. So I'm sorry we couldn't get to all of our questions. I know there were a lot left, but we'll do our best to get to more of those next week. So come back, same time, same place, and we'll hang out again. See you guys. Thank you, Cheryl.
Bye.
Bye.